Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Strategy Mob. Today, I have a very special guest. I have Mr. Todd Thompson, Director of Marketing and Development at the Steel Automotive Group. Todd, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, Todd, for everybody out there that's watching and listening right now and, kind of don't know your background or kind of how you got started in the industry, sure. I thought we'd go ahead and kick off today's show with an origin story that is Todd Thompson. So, Todd, how did you get started in the automotive industry?
Actually, when I got out of high school, I thought, geez, my father sold cars, my uncle sold cars, and I thought, I'm going to try selling cars. I get a demo, I get to wear a suit, don't have to dig a ditch. This will be fantastic. So it was probably 1991 or 92. Believe it or not, I was working in Vancouver for a Mazda dealer. And I was fresh out, didn't know a thing about it. Back then, in my own opinion, they didn't really train at all. So you just literally get thrown out there. Right?
Yeah, here's the keys, here's the manual. Yep.
Yeah, read a couple brochures and go from there. So I sold Mazda, Dodge, and Ford all together for about 4 years. It's never really a great sales rep. I approached it as a job, whereas the great sales reps approach it as a career. And I was just too young, etc. So I went back to university after that.
Well, and so then how did the marketing portion of your...
At the time, that's when I went back and I took marketing and computer science. And so I do software developing as well for the group. And marketing and graphic design. Then I started working for ad agency, then a company out west. They've sold the Sport Check since, but Sport Mart. It used to be Western Canada. So I worked with them and doing the marketing and graphic design stuff at the time. And to give you some context to it, it was primarily newspaper. And so you prepare the PMTs for it, which is the print-ready camera shots of the artwork. And you'd have it rolled up, stuck into tubes, and you drive like a madman to the airport to make it to the plane on time. Because they had to get it to Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba from BC. So there was no FTP. That was just something that was just coming out. And so literally I started that way. And so I worked with Sport Mart, et cetera, for a number of years, and then Long McQuaid music stores. And as in Nova Scotia, I didn't really want to move to Toronto, which is Long McQuaid's head office. And so the opportunity at Steel came up about 12 years ago. And I thought, I don't know, the car business again, what I've learned from the whole experience is car salesmen are a very specific breed. And I have a lot of respect for them to get up again and again after, something negative or they didn't make the sale. Not many people can do it. And it's a real skill set that over the years I've really developed a deep respect for. When you see the ones who are really good at it, it's amazing, really. So so I've been with the Steel Group ever since.
I think, a lot of us kind of seem to get into the industry that way. Like, not necessarily intentional. It's more of like, hey, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to go do something like that. But I've yet to meet someone at 9 years old go, I'm going to grow up and become a car salesman one day. But, you're right. We're all a little weird. I call it the island of misfit toys, because I think it's the best way to describe the automotive industry is that we're just a bunch of misfit toys on this island that we call automotive. But a lot of things have changed. I mean, you've been in the industry for long enough to see technology change, marketing change. You went through it during 9/11. You went through it during the recession. Man, could you have ever guessed that within 2 weeks everything just kind of shut down the way it did? I mean.
Yeah, I didn't really see that coming at all. Right. It was all like in China or what have you, a few cases here or there. And suddenly we were talking about working at home and not coming in. Seemed like a dream at the time.
I know.
Work at home forever.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great.
You have kids, you got homework going on, you got to clean up, the lunches, right? All that. it's not so great anymore. I'm ready to go back. I'd like to get a haircut one day.
I've been trying to give myself haircuts, and gosh, that's been an interesting ordeal. I'm with you though. I got 3 kids under the age of 10, and I love them.
Yeah.
But wow. Sitting there trying to do homework with them, and I'm just like, no, not my thing at all.
Yeah, it's a bit more of a challenge, but we start going back in about another week.
Okay. So are you guys? Because for us, the schools have canceled. So
the schools are out. Sorry, okay. I meant the dealerships are open.
That's actually a perfect segue.
Our head office has been shut down.
Gotcha. So what is the current norm then for the group for you right now?
As far as how we're deployed, do you mean?
Yeah, as far as operations, what does it look like? Are you guys closed? Are you open? Are you by appointment only? I know it's a little different all over the country right now.
Yeah, the showrooms are by appointment only. Service is being, as you know, an essential service, so that's continued on. And we've done reasonably well with it. It was a bit of a challenge at first. On the whole technology side, we were lucky enough to have we built an in-house app for doing service videos. So you can approve the vehicle's work. Just by coincidence, we had that running prior. And so it's worked out really well that, you drop the car off, you can see the car getting worked on video, approve the extra money, that sort of idea without having to come in. And so that's across all the dealerships. So it's been really handy for us as far as trying to service those customers who would feel more comfortable not having to come into a store currently. So that, that's worked out really well. But sales has been a bit of a challenge. We went through a series of layoffs, as probably most stores have. And now we're just bringing people back. It's just a matter of, a number of sales reps have already come back. And as the volume picks up, we're bringing more people back in. So it's coming together, but it was a long haul, for the past 3 months for sure.
It's really been an interesting time. And, I was talking to a couple salespeople that I know well this morning, and they asked me a question like, well, Jay, what do you think I'm coming back to? You know what? I'll be honest with you, Todd. I actually had a hard time kind of answering that, because I'm not 100% sure. I mean, you know what? There's I got one side of me saying this, and I got the other side of me kind of saying that, But, right now it's I'm looking at the sales and I'm talking to dealers from an operations perspective, and there's uncertainty, with the customers. Like consumer confidence is super low. Employee confidence is super low. So that's one side of it, right? And then the other side I keep thinking is, well, you know what? As a country, we are going to be coming back, the government's eventually going to say, okay, pop your heads out and you can start, doing this and this and this and this. And, I think from a transportation perspective, a lot of things are going to change. Like where we are here in Ontario, we have the largest usage of public transit than any other province in Canada, 1.5 million people. And I'm thinking of all those people going, they're not getting into a bus anytime soon, right? They're not going to be jumping on a train. These people are going to need inexpensive transportation, So that's the one side of me pulls that direction, And then I also look at another stat where here in Ontario, again, we're the highest usage of rideshare programs. And, I don't know about you, Todd, but I'm not getting to the back seat of an Uber anytime soon, So it's I'm really going to rely on my transportation.
I read an interesting article the other day regarding pandemics, et cetera, and how they don't actually really end. People just quit wanting to do it anymore. I think, the U.S. is way ahead of us there. They don't want to do it. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to do whatever I want. And I think eventually that's where people go. I'm sure there was a time where the common flu was an epidemic. Or a pandemic. And I think that's a little bit of what we're coming across now is, people have been shut in for 3 months and they're just getting really tired of being in. And you hear more, it's still kind of joking, but a lot of people say, I'd rather take my chances, that and go out.
That's just ridiculous, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's a bit of truth to that eventually people just quit wanting to follow the rules and they just want to go out and live their life, I suppose. So
I'm with you. I think consumer behavior changes during time frames like this, right? This is very different. I mean, during the recession, it was about economics. I remember, customers coming in and they would ask me questions like, okay, Jay, if I buy this car from you, what happens if I lose my job in a month? It was like, okay, well, we have this, this, and this, but it was a concern of economics. Here now, it's an entire social fundamental change. There will be people that, to your point, Todd, will just be like, whatever, I'm going to the park. I'm going to hang out with all my buddies, but I still think there's a fair amount of the population out there that are going to ask themselves, from a retail perspective or from a consumption perspective, like, can I do more, virtually than having to go into a location? I keep using the example of grocery stores. We were talking about younger kids earlier, and I'm sure you've taken younger kids into a grocery store because that's fun. It's like getting prepared.
Great when you don't notice all the arrows too. And you just walk wherever.
Yeah, you're like,
it doesn't take long to blow up.
It's just not a great experience. I mean, now I'm so used to now ordering everything off of this device. It's like moving forward. Like, will I ever go back into a grocery store? It's like I will probably prefer. I'm more productive to be able to just order it, pull up, open up the hatch, they throw it in, I drive off. That's perfect. I had to get a service done on my vehicle recently. I needed the winter tires switched over. Called the dealership, and they gave me the option of coming in and dropping it off, or a little bit of an extra charge to come pick it up for me. I'm like, well, that kind of sounds cool. I mean, one part of me was like, well, Jay, it'd be kind of nice to get out of the house for a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's an evening out now.
Right, yeah, it is. Then the other part was me like, okay, $30, you pick it up, I don't know how to deal with it, So like, I'm curious what your kind of thoughts on how this pandemic changes consumer behavior, specifically in the automotive sector. I know there's a lot of different ideas out there, but I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, there's been a big push lately as far as, oh my God, Todd, you're not doing digital retail, that kind of thing. Whether the world's ready to buy their used cars or what have you online in Canada, you don't see a lot of it yet. You do see a lot more conversation via digital. And I think going forward, the sales reps, certainly on what I see, the ones that do well will master that a lot better than they may have prior. To be able to put it across your personality and the way you discuss, etc., digitally, whether that be Facebook Messenger, texting, or what have you. It wasn't too long ago. We had just for a year we put chat on a site. We thought, okay, we're going to manage ourselves. So we have the chat, boom, they're on there. Discovered a lot of people can't type. You can't sit have a conversation with a sales rep who's only using one finger, right? So I think we'll see a lot more of that. The skill set in digital conversations, etc., will greatly improve after all of this. And we'll start to look at, you come across certainly as leads, if you get a lead coming in off the internet, they're not real people. There's a period of time where they didn't really feel like that was a qualified lead, right? You walk in the store, but now that it's kind of changed, and when those leads come in via the internet or what have you, I think they'll get looked at a lot more and followed a lot better than they ever have, and which is great, I think. And I think the customers kind of expect that, certainly nowadays. And I think as a dealership or as an auto industry, I think we'll get better and better at it. But
I'm with you.
A bit of a learning curve.
Well, you know what though, I will give credit to our industry that we actually learned it pretty quick. I mean, it sounded like you guys were a little ahead of the curve. You guys have been using video to communicate with service customers and sell customers, I think, for a little over a year, right?
Yeah, well, it's been probably as a in-house application, probably 2 to 3 years now.
Yes.
We do realistically about 150,000 videos a year. Like one-to-one.
That's amazing. So I mean, from a digital communication perspective, it's a lot different having to do it over a device like this, versus in person. 80% of what we say doesn't necessarily come out in the words we're saying it. There's body language, and so I imagine when you were training the team, things like tonality become an issue. The words that we use. How good our Wi-Fi is throughout the entire building has been a big thing. You walk into the service bay and you're in a dead zone, right? So the past year or two, I mean, all our dealerships putting additional drops everywhere because of the service application running all the time. You have to have a really good, decent
at least internet connection. And that's been another thing as far as you can't have it shaky. It actually has to work. All the time. And so yeah, we noticed that so much as far as a reliance on it, and as far as video as a tool, certainly. Yeah, you have to have decent bandwidth, and you have to have a really good connection all the time. But it's worked out really well once we kind of got a handle on the signal.
Well, and really, I think at the end of the day, the customer wants to communicate that way, because what's more transparent than video? I'm literally seeing it, yeah. Right? And I wonder if that's kind of the fundamental shift in the consumer behavior, right? Like, the consumers have been demanding transparency for years, and I hate to say it, but as a vertical within retail, all right, we were one of the last to kind of go, no, I'm still going to kind of hold on to the information. You want it? I need your first name, last name, blood type, and name of firstborn. It's like, but I think that's where we're realizing now that we can't do this anymore. I think as an industry, we're realizing that we're not the ones in control of the process as much as the customer is the one that's in control of the process. We need to be there to support them. And I mean, that's definitely obvious with your guys' commitment in the last few years of being able to communicate, via video, a way where people feel very comfortable and they see transparency in that. And I think for us to increase that customer confidence, the level of our transparency will have to shift and have to get higher. And I think especially in our marketing, and this is where I want to get your thoughts on, before all of this, our marketing messages were pretty straightforward. Huge discounts, low lease rates,
Big gorilla. Big gorilla.
Exactly, right? Like it was this big gorilla.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we can necessarily market to customers like that anymore, or at least definitely not for the next 8 to 12 months. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how do we market to customers moving forward.
I think I remember for a number of years it was like you said, you're kind of the keeper of the information, and I've had numerous arguments with not arguments so much as discussion with managers who are like, oh, we don't want to tell them we don't have a red one. Like, that's why I don't want to show my inventory. If they see I don't have the red one and somebody else does, they'll go there. I just want to show a virtual inventory of all of them, that sort of idea. And, people will get the information one way or the other. And it's not what we fail to do or have to work on is as far as providing the value and the benefits of the information. Because, you can go over the specs. Yeah, it can fit my golf club. But, it really comes down to what, the benefits and the value. If you can't build that, then you're just spitting out a list of options and what the price is. And it's hard for me to get excited about a car. The descriptions you read all the time, it's the same description for every car, or they're just nothing. They have nothing to say about that car. It's sitting out there. They can't even think of one positive thing to put down about that car. And
they're like, it's got alloy wheels and a steering
so
wheel.
There's the other 15 on Auto Trader that look identical, right? So if you can't paint a picture or explain some sort of a benefit, so I think having the information readily available 24/7 is great, but being able to back it up and provide value when they call in or video in or however they do it, to be able to provide that kind of value and the features and the benefits and how it's going to work for you, that really kind of sets us apart. And if we can concentrate on that and quit talking about the price really, we always assume it's the number one thing. But a lot of people, like myself included, sometimes you just don't care about the price as long as it's, reasonable to any degree. You really want to know if it does this, and this. Will it suit my needs? Is it going to fit the kids? Whatever it might be. That's really what counts. And the rest of it, I can get off the internet and watch whatever, read about it, but when the rep comes across and is able to explain it and in a way that I can really identify with, and I think we really have to watch that with this kind of push towards more digital, is to be able to build those values using digital, and like video is a great tool for that. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? An actual video would be, the Dead Sea Scrolls, going over that. But that's kind of the defining thing. So getting better at building the benefits and the features for a vehicle, I think will be greatly improved with the concentration we've had to put it on in the past couple months for sure.
I agree with you. I mean, I think we need to consume a story before we actually consume the product. I've been talking about this for years, but I'm finding right now that it's more important more than ever is that we stop marketing at the customer, but we market to the customer. Look, when we were running newspaper ads, we didn't necessarily know who was going to be reading those ads. We didn't know if the person was male or female or between the ages of 20 and 45, or, we don't know what their hobbies were, what their likes were, their dislikes were. We didn't know any of that information. So we had to market just at kind of the general population out there, but that's not the case anymore. And I just felt like, for the last 15 years, we've kind of taken on that same idea of let's throw out these general messages and just we'll market at the customer, but not market to the customer, because now we know. I mean, you can go on the website analytics. You can see how the age demographic. You can see the age, the demographic. You can see if they're male or female. You can see what their likes and dislikes are and their hobbies are. It's like we have all this power at our hands, and yet for the last 10 or 15 years, we just haven't really decided to market to them as an individual. But now I'm finding that with this pandemic, from a marketing perspective, what it's really identifying is that we can't just be spending money kind of unknowingly. I think what it is that everyone's looking to slim down everything. Slim down, from an operations perspective, from a marketing perspective. It's like I need everything to work like this much harder. Right? Yeah. So it's like from a marketing perspective, it's like if we market to the customer as an individual, then we can do that. And video is the best way to do that. What the funny thing is, though, we do this in person. It's the weirdest thing. Like we do this in person. A customer walks in through the door. We can see they got 3 kids with them, and it's like, okay, we'll present you this vehicle, and we present it the way that is for them as an individual. Like, here, I see your kids about age for hockey. Let me show you where the hockey bags go. Look at this nice, great space here. But we never do that, with our marketing. But I think moving forward, we have to do that, and it's finding ways to really kind of optimize everything we do, which leads into my next question. Is optimizing our operations, because we can't just optimize our marketing efforts, right? We have to optimize our operations. And having a lot of conversations with dealers out there right now, they're doing a lot with a little.
Well, you have to stop. I mean, this presents a great opportunity to stop and really evaluate what it is you're doing. Like I can't tell you how many times you come across things like, what is that $500 a month we're paying for? Somebody else had done it 8 months ago, set it up. They're no longer here. Turns out you're paying $400 a month for somebody to store an inflatable grill in a warehouse for you, right? Or whatever it might be. It's unbelievable. So when you actually get to the point, now you kind of, who are we paying? What value are we getting from each, whether it's, in marketing, whether it's in service, or whether that add-on, clip-on, third-party, such and such that's promising the world that really doesn't do anything. And I think you have to also put it as the responsibility to the dealer. And what I mean by that is sometimes I've come across people who say, well, I'm paying these guys to do that. This third party, whatever, I'm paying them. So, but you have to be the one who's responsible to say, what is it you're doing? Who are you reaching out to? Why are you doing that? It doesn't go on autopilot. It makes you feel good not to have to worry about it. You sit in a meeting, oh yeah, well, we're doing Facebook advertising, we're doing Google advertising, but you have no clue what you're doing. You've never looked at an analytic, you've never had any, So if nothing else, this is a good reset opportunity for a lot of dealers to go through what they're really spending in each of the departments, really figure out, is it doing anything for us? If it just turned it off, would we ever notice? And be honest, to go through it and say, yeah, Todd, that $500 a month we've been spending for the past 6 years hasn't done anything for us. Like, you don't want to have those conversations. It makes you look bad, right? You need to stop and figure out, are we getting any value on that? And it's a great opportunity to rethink a lot of that. And I believe from my conversations and with other dealer groups, et cetera, that this is what's happening is a lot of stores are rethinking what they're spending. And when they bring it back in, they're going to be able to give an honest opinion. Is it really going to make a difference for us or not? And if you can't prove it, or if that third party can't prove it, get rid of them. Like, just get rid of them. That's my opinion, just my opinion, by the way.
No, but it's true though, and I think that's just us being good consumers though too, right? Because I think our customers are doing the exact same thing.
No,
You know, I
absolutely,
mean, like, I drive a Nissan Armada. It's a boat. I mean, it's literally named an Armada. Like, it's, and
Columbus sailed.
like, yeah, but I had the conversation with my wife the other day. It's like, we're paying this much a month in the payment for this thing. And, I mean, yes, we used it to, tow the boat and the trailer and the ATV and all that stuff. But we're looking like, are we going to be doing much of this any more moving forward? And it's like, for me to tow, the 6 times a year, I actually probably put a trailer on the back of that thing. Is it something that we should really keep, or should we look at something that optimizes? And I think that's what it is. I think everyone's looking at efficiencies right now.
I've been working from home probably for 3 months, right? And I filled up my tank March 15th and haven't put gas in it since. I get incredible gas mileage now. Yeah, and you ponder, like, would I have a second car if I worked at home? Would we really even need it? And I think a lot of the consumers are going to be, they've been working at home, what have you. They've learned to get by without this or without that. And whether they come around again and say they want to take on that extra debt, or they want to, revisit that, I think that'll change too. Certainly, the way we spend money and the way we look at it as consumers is greatly going to change, as well as their work. They'll discover, geez, might be at home and I hated that commute. And I feel better, I take walks in the morning or whatever it is. And it wouldn't surprise me if a number of people who found that they're working at home, what have you, decide they want a job that they can, even when they're able to go back. It's going to be a different story.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm talking to a handful of salespeople right now that are, trying to work with their dealerships to kind of come up with a hybrid of, do they really need to be in the dealership right now? I have one gentleman that's been working in the dealership for the last 23 years at a Lexus dealership. He's been selling through this entire time frame, but that's because he's been at the dealership for 23 years. All right. It's, whenever his customers had a question or a concern, they never dialed the dealership phone number. They always dialed his phone number, so he's been able to go into the dealership once a week or once every other week just to, deal with some of the paperwork and be face to face with them. But, he's like, look, I'm very, very efficient from home right now. In fact, actually, he's like, I'm getting more done right now than I have in the past because I'm at home. The pager's not going off. I don't have 15 other salespeople looking for this or asking about that. It's like, it's just very laser targeted right now. So I wonder, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, does this change the way a sales floor looks? Does this change, can this potentially change the way, our showroom operations looks? What are your thoughts on that, Todd?
My personal feeling is I hope it does. I hope the hours change that we're open. A lot of guys work Sundays, not here in Nova Scotia, but I mean, certainly when I was selling cars, we were open Sundays. And it's hard. If you're a family guy, you have kids, you have a 7-day-a-week job, you're working till 9 at night. Quite often, it's a ghost town at 7, right? Whatever it might be, we'll get on the phone then, right? All that kind of stuff starts to roll in. But, if there was some sort of a setup where they could possibly, be available from home after 6 or whatever it might be, whatever kind of a shift. I think one of the challenges we find certainly in the sales thing is not a lot of people want those kind of hours if they can avoid it. It's hard on hard on a family guy. Like if you're single and you're loving it, it's a whole different ballgame. But when you have kids and dinners and you're trying to run around and get people to their hockey games and all that, those long hours of non-productive work, like, you can say, the sales rep should be making calls, doing this, doing that. But, nowadays with, the help of technology, digital, they can do a lot of that. They don't have to be sitting there. And maybe in a perfect world, or these past 2 or 3 months, a lot of the management across the country will say, they were actually working from home. I don't have to be fearful that they will go home and they won't do anything. I won't be paying them. I need to see them sit there. They need to be polishing that seat all day, right? Maybe it'll be, the world didn't end. They worked at home, and possibly more productive on some aspects.
Well, and I think productive is the key here, right? We're really talking about productivity. I mean, like as an industry, we have been known for being the best at literally recording, all right, all of our opportunities. Okay, we would
Right.
we'd love to say.
I've heard of it.
I mean, how many meetings have I been in? So what's your closing ratio? Yeah, it's like 26.5%. I'm like, where the hell did you get that from? He's like, well, I think it's something like that. You know? But right now, I'm finding that dealerships are tracking like everything.
Yeah.
I mean, every phone call, every touch point, and it seems like the person that's benefiting from that is both the customer and the dealership right now, because people are getting followed up on a regular basis. I was talking to a dealer principal a few days ago, and he has 8,000 active VINs. I said, "Oh, that's cool." He goes, "Like, we have talked to literally on the phone, talked to 5,000 of them, in the last 2 months." I'm like, damn. I mean, that's impressive. He knew that's how many actual talk tos that have happened. And a lot of the conversations may not have been around sales as much as like, hey, we're checking in. Is there anything we can do to help you out? That kind of deal. Mm-hmm. But no, I think it's all about efficiencies. Everyone's going to be looking at it. And I think the consumer is going to be looking at like the way they engage with us as a dealership. How can that be more productive? And
well, I found even, a couple things like, call tracking was a big thing. And, you're running newspaper ads. Oh my God, wouldn't it be great to have a different phone number? And so we finally got there and not all that long ago, some of the dealers were running morning ads, come buy a car, whatever it might be, Google search ads. And, the provider's like, oh my God, you guys get the highest click-through I've ever seen. Right? It must be a template email they sent. But anyways, so we call track. So we provide our own phone numbers for Google Click numbers. And we record them all and push them into our system. So we can hear every Google call that went on. And what we discovered, and a lot of people, you would think this, but whether you pawn it or not, when you're actually doing it is so you're running an ad, and the person's setting up their Google ad, maybe a search ad of some kind. Okay, I want to show it maybe evenly throughout the day, whatever, and bing, and they send it up. And what we discovered is in morning, they're just service customers who would have clicked on the organic link anyways. So we're paying for what we would hope was sales marketing leads. They're just the service customers. And so, in those early mornings, turn the frickin' ad off. The next one down's you. They're searching for that dealership, right? And so because of call recording, we could hear all those calls coming in and decide it makes no sense to run these marketing ads first thing in the morning when you're just trying to get the dealership number or the address. And you can see them searching it, right, and phoning the dealership. So, there's a lot of savings like that just by kind of revisiting a lot of that and really pondering it a little more. We used to do that in newspaper ads, of course, and, postcards was a great example of VIP sales. It'd be a great example of that because there's a lot of VIP sales, right? And there still was up to 2 months ago.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too many of those moving forward.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an odd one. Now they're all virtual, right? They'll come up with something else. But one of the things that we changed, because we do a lot of our own in-house versions of that as opposed to a third-party doing for us. And so they're like, okay, we're going to do this direct mail. This is the third party. We're going to send out these postcards, inviting them to, September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, Thursday to Saturday, typically, or whatever it might be. Come in, what have it. And so anyways, we had done our own. We call track. And what we discovered is, and it seems obvious hindsight, but people don't check their mailbox anymore. So they'll check it. And that was 2 weeks earlier. They're not acting on that. And where we picked it up was people would phone occasionally and go, yeah, I just checked my mail. Is this still going? Right? That sort of idea. It's like, oh my God, people are just checking now. And so we switched it to this Thursday to Saturday only. No dates. Because if they, pretend you're having a sale the following week. It's really not a big ask for a dealer.
We're always having a sale. I mean, I don't know. Exactly. If you need a sale, we got to sell. Especially
it gave you much better because you might only check it especially in the winter, like up here in
for
Canada.
sure.
Yeah, you have your super mailbox a block and a half down, snow pile. Like I don't know. It's going to be a big check for me to get out of the car and try to find. I don't know which box is mine. right? Let alone where the key is, But anyways, it was changing stuff like that from really analyzing the data, and hopefully a lot of the dealerships across Canada certainly will take a look at the stuff they do. And
you know what? I saw a new position, and I saw it once, and I kind of laughed a little bit at it, and then I saw a handful more of them actually when I was in February when I was at NADA. That's crazy. I was just in Las Vegas, like it just feels like it was like years ago, but it was literally just like just a couple months ago, right? But I get this one. I think you get a kick out of this, Todd. Director of the little things.
I see that. We call them coordinators, but
yeah, I mean, well, it took me a moment. I'm like, what does this person do? And I actually had to reach out to him because I saw him on LinkedIn, and it was for a group. It was for an automotive group, and she was the director of little things. But that's kind of what you were talking about, Todd. It's little things that make up really, really big differences. And for the last 5 to 6 years as an industry, I mean, we have seen quarterly increase after increase after increase after increase to the point where I call it now full belly syndrome, where we're like, yeah, we can kind of willy-nilly get through operations and marketing, and as long as it kind of somewhat decent, we can half-ass our way to profitability. But that's not going to be the case anymore. I mean, I'm a firm believer that moving into the next 8 to 12 months that we're going to have to process our way to profitability. And it is not going to be just kind of like, yeah, I'll try a few grand over here and I'll throw a few grand over there, and what, I'll just hire a bunch more people to fill the floor. Let me flood.
People love hiring. Yeah.
God, it's their answer for everything, right? Let's just throw more bodies. I mean, how often have you heard in the industry that we just need warm bodies, Todd? Can you not just find us some warm bodies? But I'd love to kind of get your thoughts, on that. Of how you see, as an industry that we're going to have to make, we're going to have to adapt to, processing our way to productivity or processing our way to profitability.
Well, some of the things change as far as those kind of roles. Like for us, I've mentioned, of course, a couple times now with regard to video taking, et cetera. So this past year, we've hired 30 videographers. So that's all they do, is they do videos all day. And that's their whole job, just in service. So the cars are getting in, they're getting videotaped, you got your car up in the hoist, getting fixed, it's be ready on time for you, just want to give you an update. Right? And that's what they receive. But that role never existed. And what we've discovered is because the videographer takes videos, describes the issue, etc., sends it off, logs it, whatever it might be, they're doing kind of the service advisor job as well. Really? So what we found is we need more videographers, less service advisors. We need somebody to come in to handle the paperwork currently, right? But the actual selling, and then you start to go, well, who should be receiving the bonus or what have you if they upsell? How does that work? And it's a real watershed switch way of thinking. Like for instance, a BDC is a great example. So they're doing phone outs, and they'll give you a call, perhaps. It looks like you need an oil change. Oh, by the way, Todd, you're also due for 400 other things that'll cost you about $9,000. When can I book you in? Right? And very hard to close on that. It's such a great way of doing it. What we discovered, and we've got the data to prove it over the past year or two, is we don't approach it that way on the call out. We say, okay, well, you're due for the oil change, come on in. We'll sell you the extra on video. We won't even talk about the extra, because if we tell you that and you say, okay, I'll come in, you're probably not coming in. And we just wasted that spot. But if we bring you in, we're doing the oil change, and you can see underneath the car on video, oh my God, the muffler's falling off, the tailpipe's shot, and your brakes are metal on metal, and it'll be $875, whatever it might be. You're more apt to do it. You've seen the work, it's falling apart. You knew before you brought it. Right? It's not a big shock. But I've always equated it to like going to the dentist. It's going to hurt. It's going to be expensive. You're going to hate it. Right? So if we can take any of that friction away, you don't have to go to us. You're not going to hate it. You can still be at work doing whatever, and get the work done. So that role, coordinator roles are another one that's taken on really big. It's, oh my God, Todd, we need a coordinator. Everything's falling apart. We need a coordinator.
But with technology, that is true, though. You
have to watch them, though. They become Tim Horton runners after a period of time if you're not careful.
Well, that's true too. So I mean, that's actually a kind of a good segue kind of into my next question topic for you, is from a training perspective, like the consumers changed. Right? And you guys are a little farther ahead of this. And this is what I'm asking you. The consumers changed in the sense that they want that transparency. They want that communication through the video, right?
Sure.
But I can't say that every single dealership out there with the current staff they have right this moment are able to execute on that. They're just not.
They can't. I mean, it's tough. Like we've pushed like the video thing like you would not believe. Your job depends on getting that done. More than anything you do today, we're going to basically zero in. We're going to swing the Hubble over on you and the videos you put out today, right? As far as service goes. As far as sales, the video process has been really good because salespeople are kind of scared to call sometimes. They're going to phone you and maybe the customer's going to get mad. You called at dinner, I hate you, whatever it might be. It's kind of a negative. But when you send this video, the salesman gets notified when you go to view it. So it's a nice soft touch. They do their 10 or 15 per day religiously, and they can't help but do better. The process is better. It's easier for them. The customer enjoys it more than getting a cold call out of the blue.
Oh, why? Right? And I imagine you probably hire for that now. I mean, I'm sure at one point.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure at one point you had to train your existing, staff to be able to do so. But now I imagine it's part of the actual hire requirement. And I'm actually kind of curious, and what else do you think is going to become a hiring requirement? I mean, I think if I was to throw one in there, the art of prospecting that I feel like has been lost over the years because of this fat belly syndrome that our industry has kind of had is now coming
sins
back.
With 100 leads.
well, you can, right? Like, kind of blindfolded, just kind of swinging. I'm gonna hit something.
Something's gonna happen, right? It's open floor on a Saturday.
But we can't do that anymore, like, because there won't be that many leads. But I'm curious what else you think. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think someone has to be able to do video. I think someone has, as a requirement, has to be able to actually prospect and feel comfortable in prospecting. And it's okay, because there are people out there that don't feel comfortable doing that, and that's fine. They just shouldn't work at your dealership. But
they work at the competitors.
Yeah, exactly. Please. But I'm curious what other things you think are going to be a requirement moving forward now into this new norm.
It's been a delicate balance as far as hiring goes. What we found was we have to really word the ads or what have you much differently than we used to. Much more specific. Like, for instance, we've had some people that come in and think they're going to create a Spielberg production. For every car that they send a lead on, it'll take you an hour and a half to get that perfect video, right? By then, he's already bought his car, right? So you have to get a person who can prospect, obviously, to be able to reach out and be approachable, et cetera, but and who has a grip on technology to some degree, that they're comfortable enough with it. They're not fumbling for everything and trying to work it out. But also they have to realize what the end goal is. I don't want you to create the best video I've ever seen. And logos flying around. The customer doesn't want that. They want the information. They don't. When did you pick Metallica for their background music? Right? They don't need it.
So like the art of storytelling.
The art of storytelling, but the smarts to know when you put the effort in. Not just. I've come across and goes, oh my God, Todd, look at this walk around. It'll change your world, right? Like, you wasted a lot of time. You're walking into it, virtually walking back. It took too long. You're never going to make a living at this. But you get the ones. One of the fellows, I won't mention his name, who's fantastic at it. He does a ridiculous amount, but he's approachable. He's fast. He tells them what they want to know. He builds a value, and he sends it. And it's done, and it's over, and he's working on the next one. And out of 250, 300 sales reps, he's probably top 5 all the time. And pretty much all of them are very similar to that.
Well, that is kind of a behavior trait that you have to interview for. The ability to just do. You know,
yeah, it sounds simple, but
sounds,
you can look busy with a clipboard all day long.
Holy crap! Yes,
oh my
you
God,
can.
He's walking around with a clipboard.
Oh, he must be
in the middle.
Must be something going on.
Oh my God! He rolled up his sleeves and he's got a vest on. He's got a vest, a clipboard, and his sleeves are rolled up. This guy's a go-getter.
He's getting shit done.
But there's no stickers on the board, that sort of idea. So
but it's true though. Like how do you hire? I mean, yeah, that's what we have to look for. Is like, and I run into it the same thing in my own business too. It's like, you hire someone on paper, they look amazing.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are shining knights, and they're going to come in with battle axes and just start whacking away. And then they show up, and bam, that red light goes on, and this thing turns on, and they're just like. They just do one of those. And it's like, it is. I definitely think moving forward that, hiring people, requiring them to have to prospect and want to prospect, having to show a video, and then just the ability just to do. Just not, I mean, like, it's okay to like think it through, like that's fine, but it's like just get it done and then realize that, okay, that one didn't work, so I'll make the adjustment, but
yeah,
that's it's behavior trait. Like it's hard to find those type of people. I mean, look, I put out, here, I don't even watch most of my videos. Like I hate, because AI, I actually hate watching myself.
Right.
So it's like, I will record it, I will put it out, I'll take a look at the analytics and then go, okay, I could do it better. But that's about it.
yeah. Well, that's how it should be. If you're Steven Spielberg, you'll go over every inch of it a million times over.
Right.
Maybe worth it then. But like I said, the ones that produce the best for, same with the dealerships that produce the best in service. It's not unusual for any of the dealerships to do 200-300 videos a day just on service. Like it's unbelievable the volume that goes out. But
that's such an awesome commitment. I mean, look, you guys as a group have always kind of been ahead of the curve. What's next for the Steel Group? I'm curious.
We always have a few things in the can. The one thing I would say that's been handy with the COVID is being at home and being able to concentrate on developing the next big thing, right? As far as, the killer app or whatever it may be. And I've been in a fortunate position, I guess, to get pitched a lot of different ideas from third-party applications.
So where do you think it's going? I mean, is digital retailing a big topic with you guys right now?
Yeah, I mean, it comes up, and I'm usually, it's not really there. Like that's my honest opinion. I know everybody, oh my God, Todd, I can't believe it. How can you say that? Right? Whatever it might be, people want to know. Yeah, I agree with you. People want to know, what's it really going to cost me? Like if I put in the tax, rebates, regional, I mean, it's most of them are a glorified calculator. Okay, yeah, I think that's great. I think it shows the amount. But where I think it should be, and what we're working towards, is on our next rendition, it'll actually push all the info into the DMS. Because none of these push to the DMS. And that's one of the biggest problems with all the third-party stuff, whether it be chat stuff, whether it be this or that. There's not much of any integration to the DMS. So you might have a third party that provides, some sort of CRM tool that's clipped on the front of your DMS system. And all those conversations were stored on that CRM. And when you don't love them anymore, that may be 6 months from now, they take that data and go away. And what's your DMS? A shell of what it used to be, because it doesn't contain anything. And so for us, we've made a real big effort and continuing effort to push it all back in and keep it all there. And if you can't do that, and we'll build it ourselves. We're going to get it back in. And when we look that customer up, I want to see every chat they've had online, Facebook Messenger, right? Facebook Messenger, that doesn't go in anybody's DMS. You might get an email, right? Somebody said it. They don't really do it that way, right? But to go to save those and have that stored under that customer record within your DMS. And and if I go look for a car on the site, I click through it. Yeah, okay, my rebates, and I say, our presentation will be more like, go through these steps to figure out what vehicle you want, get down to the brass tacks, and when you hit the button, you just saved yourself an hour in the dealership.
I see. Now that's the kicker. See, it's all about
That's value to me.
that. I'm with you on that one. I mean, definitely, it has to save me time. And again, it's all about just productivity. Like, I'm willing to pay for it if my level of productivity increases. And look, I'm some of the digital retailing products I'm down for. I think they're cool, but they're singular element in a very, very large piece. But then I also then I hear people talk about e-commerce, and then I really start to fade away from the crowd, because I'm like, really
buzzword kill and
just
all that
buy something online. I'm like, how the hell as an industry did we just I don't think we overly nailed down the online shopping experience, but screw that. We'll just go straight to the online buying experience.
Right,
and that would be the big one. But then it's like, look, you have your research part of the process, you have your shopping part, and how do we fulfill that? We have the buying part, which I understand digital retailing can support that, definitely in the development of the payments and figuring out that. But then there's that big whole chunk afterwards, which from an operations perspective costs me usually the most amount of time, is the actual delivery and the back and forth between the departments and the conversations that are required and how everything just collectively gets stored in the systems. But yeah, I literally think we're entering into the season of productivity and efficiency. That's that as our industry. That's, if you're not embracing that in every single aspect of your business, I think you're going to kind of lose moving forward.
Yeah, and we talk about developing your database, your DMS over time. You got to keep it clean, keep singular, all this kind of stuff, and then you have the third party stuff that's storing it all on somewhere else.
Yeah, it's just not enough more. It just doesn't work.
You got to figure out a way to get it back into the DMS. However you do it, however you can ponder it or work it out. But that's got to be the single point of truth.
Well, it's just being efficient.
Otherwise, you're splintered. You get so splintered up, and so that's kind of the push we have, is to try to contain all that information. It's more secure. It's more for the customer's data, the information being stored in one spot. I'll say the good DMS systems out there now let you interact with the data. And a lot of them don't. Geez, we're going to have to, come up with $100,000 certification fee and, all this kind of stuff. Whereas it's our information. We just want access to it.
Oh my gosh, Todd! I could do a whole podcast just on that topic right there. It's like, do dealerships really own their own data? I'm just saying, or are they leasing it from their DMS or CRM companies?
Yeah, exactly.
I think me and you might have to do an entire podcast on that.
If you get a good one, that wants to play along. The value they hold to you, you'll never leave them. And the one we're primarily with, because when you take over a dealership, whether they can get out of their current contract or not, but I would say probably 90% we're on the same DMS out of all those stores, which is great. I think it's just 3 stores that aren't, probably 40. So the beauty of that is they have a series of APIs, way of accessing the data, pushing back and forth, not just taking out, but sending the information back to update, right, through our own back-end tools. That's a huge thing. And, I've had the discussion with other DMS suppliers when it came up originally a few years ago. We're looking at, a new DMS system. What can you do for us? And it's like, oh my, God, that's so dangerous to build it. We can't possibly let that happen. And, we do have a tool we could tell you that can do that for you, right? And there are certain DMS systems that have figured it out, that if we can partner with you, enable you to utilize your own information better, you'll never leave us. You'll love us. It can't be a walled garden like some of them, where it's you play our way or you don't play, right? That kind of thing. And it's been a huge benefit. Like the video thing is a great example. It's all integrated to DMS. It would never happen on a lot of DMS systems. Those conversations, those pulling in all the ROs and all the customer data and pre-filling it all, sending the videos, and to be able to do all that requires real access to your own information. So it's not even asking for a lot. I just want to be able to get to our own stuff, okay? Right?
Yeah, you think that's not a big one, but it is. It is.
But it's like third-party car websites. If we didn't give you the inventory, you wouldn't have a website. Oh. So why am I paying you? I don't know. You
just identified a whole another podcast that I would love doing.
You could do this forever. This kind of stuff. How did that ever get out of the box? When I started, I could never quite get it. I hope somebody's listening. But how did we ever get to the point? Was I tell you what? Whatever that third-party site may be, we're going to give you all of our inventory at our risk. So we'll get all the inventory. We'll get it all prepared for you. We'll upload it, put the verbiage in, vindicate it, whatever you need. We'll send it over to you, and we'll pay you to put it there. And better yet, if we want to advertise, we'll pay you again. But don't stop there. You can advertise somebody else over top of our vehicles.
Yeah. We'll actually, because of your inventory, we create the traffic, and now we'll actually sell you opportunities back to you. So the opportunities you created because you put your inventory on it, now we're going to sell back to you. Like,
how did the genie get out of the bottle on
I don't know, but like we missed that boat. Like, because
where's the dealers association? They need to get a handle on that and turn it into, maybe it's one massive dealer site. I'd even be game for that. It's all car dealers, all in it, but there's no third-party site. We all agree we're not going on any third-party site. I would like to see that. I think that would be great.
Todd, I think we just scared the crap out of half of the industry out there. I think we just scared.
They've heard me rant about it a million times. I warned you, I'm very opinionated.
I know, it's great.
Just my own opinion, mind you.
Hey, Todd, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time today, and I'm pretty confident we could probably go another 4 hours straight if we wanted to, because we're so like-minded. Sure. But for everybody out there that's watching and listening right now and would love to connect with you and kind of follow along with you, what is the best way to do so?
You can certainly find me on LinkedIn, just under my own name, of course, Todd Thompson. Or I do frequent a Twitter account from time to time. It's called Event Lift. It's a longer reason for that, but I usually talk about more tech-related car industry stuff and haunt people that are related to that. And certainly, if there's anything of any interest that I might have piqued, I'd be happy to answer anything somebody may ask.
That's awesome. Thanks, Todd. But before I let you go, I get to ask you my question of the day, which I had to ask everyone, and I love the answers, but I prepped you in advance, so I know I'm expecting big things from you here, Todd. All right, Mr. Todd Thompson, what is pissing you off?
Well, I mean, we've covered the third-party site.
All right.
Yeah. I would say probably what I find most frustrating recently is a grocery shopping experience. We talked about it briefly, but it's taken all the fun out of walking the aisles. I don't know how many times I found myself lost in the health area. No idea where I was. Just surrounded by health food, that sort of thing. But I certainly have a lot of respect for anybody working in the industry, but it certainly has made it difficult to buy. And we buy online, as you mentioned yourself, and we've never had the order right yet. So it's those are kind of the pet peeves I deal with on a regular basis.
I hear you, man. I'm super pissed off that there's no baseball.
Kids hockey, I'll give that.
Right, I'm craving like a $10 beer and an overpriced hot dog right now, but I guess it is what it is. Hey, Todd, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. This has been a ton of fun. You have yourself an amazing day.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much. Thank you.